Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rody and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day guys and welcome to episode 138 of All the Gear But No Idea. Rody, it's good to be here with you, mate.
Dizzy, it's always good to be here for another episode, and we've got some big guests on the show, Ro and Phil from RAD KI. So it's called Research and Discovery Coastal Tours on Kangaroo Island, and they've been all over the Algal Bloom, and we want to talk about that and their business.
Excellent, mate. We are very much looking forward to having a chat with them. They've been, as you say, across the Algal Bloom, but they do some great stuff covering all things Kangaroo Island. So we're very much looking forward to having a chat with them. But before we do, let's get into our oranges and lemons, and I'll just roll one straight off the top as the orange. So first game of footy for Ned.
Yeah, Port didn't win, so maybe leave him at home next time.
I think that probably is.
Do you want my brutal opinion?
He didn't bring any sort of luck to Port looking like they could play any sort of good footy because, I didn't get to watch too much of it. I was on snack duty. I was making sure he didn't hit someone with his flag. I was making sure he didn't throw his beanie onto the field. You know, it was all happening, but it was good fun.
Those flags are a hazard.
Oh, I wish I had a spoken dib. I wish I had a sort of sought some advice about the flag prior to purchasing.
I had no opinion in the flag. What we were doing is we were sitting there the first game we took Lil to this year, and she said, Dad, I want a flag. Dad, I want a flag. And I said, all right, we'll get you one next time, Lil, thinking that'll buy me a bit of time. The woman in front of us turns around and says, here, you can have this one. They were giving them out. So I had no say in the flag.
Well, the flag that we got, the actual flag itself came off the pole really easily. So the first thing he wanted to do was pull the flag off the pole and then just hit people with the pole. And I was like, if you hit something else like a chair in front of you or something, I'm going to take that pole away.
Did you go up to him and say, anyone in a red and white Guernsey, go for it?
God, hit him, fair enough. What was your orange, mate?
Diz, trawling through the fishing news this week, and finally, after I know the algae's still going and I know all of that, but finally we've got some good news stories to talk about tonight.
I know. Tell us.
We've got some cover this snapper and some kingfish news, which is positive, and it's just good to have something good to talk about.
Yes.
All we talk about is bloody wind, algae, people taking too many fish. Good to have some good news stories.
Yes, that's it. And speaking of bad news stories or lowlights, let's roll that straight into the lemon. So, mate, look, the Algal Bloom still seems to be lingering. We had that bad weather that there was a lot of anticipation that was going to get rid of the Algal Bloom. It didn't appear to have done that, but it has. We have had another flurry of bad weather, I suppose, some strong winds and high tides and all that sort of stuff. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that, but we'll get more of a common sense or a scientific approach to what's going on with the Algal Bloom from RAD KI.
We certainly will, Diz, and my lemon is, well, I'll speak as me. I haven't been fishing in a long time. It has been a bleak run. Haven't really done any significant fishing since Easter, I'd say.
Yeah, I know, and even Easter, the weather wasn't great at Easter.
Yeah, and you got over the Yorks the other week. But
yeah, I was on for
between the two of us, we haven't done a lot. I think lots of people haven't done much.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair shout. There's been decent reports, Metro, across all of the usual places that are putting out reports, but we haven't been out there fishing Metro to confirm that.
The Yorks fishing's been average by the reports.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will get into that in a bit more detail in a second, Diz.
Yes, we certainly will. Rody, give the listeners a bit of an update on all things merch, latest social media posts.
Yes, Diz, we have got the survival first aid kit winners to announce.
Hit them up, mate. Let's run through them. Some really good entries, and thank you for all of the engagement. We loved it. Who are the winners, Rody?
All right, Dizzy, I've been trolling through the Facebook, the Instagram, reading through all the comments and finding a couple of our favourites. There were 3 kits to give away, so a big thank you to Survival First Aid. First up is Paul Longbottom on Facebook. This would have been handy after putting a filleting knife through my hand, resulting in surgery to repair severed nerves.
Wow.
The manky
Ouch.
old hand towel helped, but this kit would be a better option on the boat.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right, Paul. This kit is a better option than a manky old hand towel, in your words. So we've got a survival first aid kit coming your way, thanks to the team there. So that was a good one, Rody.
All right, Diz, this next winner has to get extra points for stitching you up and giving you a bit of curry. So Tony Lucan has said, hi, Diz. If you guys come with me in the Port Lincoln Tuna Classic next year, I think I might really need one. I've seen you and Dutchie work together and it scares me a lot. Cheers. So that says more about you than anything else.
Yeah, that was a bit of a stitch up. You did want to make sure that we gave one to Tony because... yes, in his words, there was a fair bit going on the deck at some stage when we had all those tuna coming on board and first aid kit. Fortunately, we didn't need to use, but you just never know. So well done to Tony.
And our final winner, Diz, is off the Instagram. Lawrence Fantas has written, this first aid kit will fit perfectly into the front of my centre console, which is constantly exposed to conditions. Additionally, as an outdoor education teacher, this kit will allow me to ditch the traditional bulky first aid kit for this beautiful kit that will fit in my rucksack. So a bit of a dual use there for Lawrence.
Yes, and it is a fantastic kit for exactly what you've just described there, Lawrence. So... well done. We've got one coming your way. And as you said at the top, Rody, a huge thanks to Survival First Aid. They are wonderful kits. Jump on their website, have a look around and order yours today. They are spectacular and very well organised piece of gear.
Very good, Diz. Now, a bit else going on social media. We did share that post that RAD KI, who we're about to chat to in a minute, Diz, their video from the King's Coat jetty. And that was barren, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, wasn't it? I mean, we've had a swim off the King's Coat jetty a couple of times, haven't we?
We got quite a few scallops there one day, didn't we, around there?
Yeah, we did, and it looked nothing like that, I might say. So very, very disheartening that.
And we've also shared a bit of squid stuff, Diz. Your salt and pepper calamari looked pretty good. I just put that up just before.
Yeah, no, that was good. I haven't cooked it like that before.
So what sort of flour did you use? This is my question.
It was a combination of corn starch.
Yeah, is that the same as corn flour? Or?
I think so.
It sort of sounds like it could
I think
be,
it was
but-
corn starch or corn flour and plain flour.
Yep.
And then it was a really thin batter.
Like a tempura almost.
Yeah, basically it didn't bubble up as much as that, but it was, I think sometimes when you have it sort of thick batter, it sort of doesn't taste that great. Yeah. This you could really taste the squid and it had a good flavour. So
it's interesting.
Yeah, I'll be doing that one again.
There's so many options in there. You got your plain flour, your self-raising. You do hear rice flour.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. The vodka batter.
Yeah.
That the SA Angler guys use.
Yep.
That uses potato starch.
Ah, yes, I have actually.
So there's lots of different options, and you mentioned corn flour is quite common. So plenty of options.
Fair bit of baking powder in it to kind of, I think, like puff it up a bit. But it was good. It was a good recipe.
Very good, Diz. And we also shared that photo of the squid heads and tentacles and asked people what they're using them for, and that got a real mixed bag. Lots of people like us using them for bait. Plenty of people eating the tentacles.
Yeah, a lot of people eating tentacles, and we haven't traditionally done that. We charcoaled them, I think.
Hey, we did at Black Point.
No, Black Point.
One time.
I can't remember when that was, but
you've got some mate that eats the heads the whole lot.
Oh, mate, yeah, he basically, except for the beak, nothing else remains. So yes, very good feedback on that one, Rody, and very good engagement. Love it when people send in their ideas and how they do it. It always gets you thinking for the next time that you're going to prepare some lovely fish you've caught.
All right, Diz, that's enough. Let's get into the fishing news.
Cool.
Rody and Diz have been searching far and wide to bring you the latest news across all fishing in the state, and we'll give you the rundown on what you need to know.
Righto, Rody. As you said, we've got some good news. So let's start with some brilliant news coming out of the southeast. The snapper bag limit has been increased to 3 per person or 9 per boat, and that is as of the 1st of July, so very soon.
Yeah, it is, and that's a good sign that the stocks are going well. And those stocks, as we've spoken about in the past, are linked to the Victorian snapper stocks that are supposed to be going well as opposed to the rest of the state stocks. So good to see that going up, Diz. And there was a request by Recfish SA to end mandatory reporting, which was presented due to no requirement of expensive stock surveillance. But that was not supported by PIRSA. So the increase in the Southeast recreational take is up to 13,652 kilos in total, which has been approved for harvest, which is 19.5% is the regional recreational allocation of snapper in the Southeast.
Okay, there you go. So good news for anybody heading down to the Southeast or doesn't mind taking a fish or two for the table if you're planning a trip down that way. And so good news.
It was 2 and 6 for the boat. Is that right? I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was because
I'm pretty sure it was 2 and
originally
6.
they started with 1.
Yeah, I reckon most recently it's been 2 per person. Yeah, it has. I'm just looking now.
Yeah.
Daily bag limit of 2, daily boat limit of 6.
Yeah, nice one.
And it doesn't say here, I assume the size limit's staying the same, is it? About 38, you'd assume.
I would say so. I'd say so. But interestingly, was there a limit? Was there an upper, like a limit on the over, 80 centimeters or something? There used to be that, wasn't there? I mean, look, I'm just needing to rack my brain.
It used to be like 38
years
to
ago
60
that we could fish.
was one size limit.
Yeah.
And you could take I think you could take 5 per person.
Yeah,
and then you
over
could take
60,
2
you could take
per
2
person over 60, I reckon.
Yeah.
But I'm just, no, it's now just a straight 38 centimetre size limit for those southeast fish.
Okay. So you can take 9 and they could potentially all be
9
100
for a
centimetres.
Boat, theoretically.
Thoughts?
I've been fishing with you before, and that's not going to happen for you, mate. So don't you worry about that.
Touche. All right, what else we got going on?
Diz, we have sort of spoken about this, but the algal bloom continues. I suppose we'll give a little bit of an update. There was a meeting held, that was a couple of weeks ago now, between different government agencies, like SA Health to do with sort of the exposure and PIRSA to do with the science and all those sort of things. We have reached out to a couple of them to try and get them on the podcast, and we haven't sort of got that locked away just yet. So we're still working on that, Diz. I suppose, if anything, good that there's finally some sort of collaboration between groups going on.
Yeah.
It would be good to hear a bit more out of the government about what's going on.
Yeah, well, I think there was an interesting article that came out about the number of GPs that had reported seeing patients getting sick.
Yes, I did read this, and they didn't have any idea what to say,
and
did they?
Were just basically like, look, you might think that everything's fine and be, saying nothing about it, but the patients that we're seeing day in, day out, they're all very sick from, being in the ocean and those sorts of things, particularly in those, areas that is well documented that the algal bloom was.
I think
was
SA
there.
Health had put together some sort of a fact sheet now that was going out to sort of coastal GPs. So see if that helps.
Yeah, let's see. All right, Rody, some good news around Kingfish. Tell us.
Yes, Diz. So the commercial take on netted yellowtail kingfish is now limited to 3 per day as of July 1st, which is great. So
That is brilliant.
Been going on for a long time. I remember when we first started this podcast, Will McClay was involved. Remember there was that survey? It was, I think SA Angler had a bit to do with it. So that's been going on for at least 5 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
So it started off with those guys, and now Recfish has sort of taken over it in recent times. And that's good to see that we won't see any more videos of the spawning kingfish just being netted on bulk.
Yeah, I know. That would be great. That was distressing footage. So that's a step in the right direction, absolutely. And look, we know a lot of advocacy from Recfish, don't we? Lot of work behind the scenes, so good on them.
So well done, and that's going to enforce the commercial allocation, which was set at a measly 0.12%, but has been well over that for a long, long time.
Good call. All right, Rody, the Rapid Bay jetty has been damaged and exclusion zone established.
So that's the old Rapid Bay jetty
Yes.
That's been damaged with all this wind and storms we've had recently. So an exclusion zone of 20 metres has been put in place, and that includes underneath the jetty. So that's quite a famous spot to dive and snorkel and see leafy sea dragon. So that is now out of action as well. So that affects both the scuba diving, snorkeling and the fishing boating community who might get in close to that structure to target kingfish. But as there's ongoing assessment and potentially repairs underway, that's currently out of action.
Yeah, wow. Interesting. And it's not the only jetty that's been absolutely smashed by some of this weather. Port Noarlunga had some damage from some very high tides.
Is that still closed, Port Noarlunga?
I think it's maybe a section of it.
Yeah.
But I think they're worried that the last few days, because there have been some very high tides and very strong winds over the last few days, whether it's gonna sustain any more damage, and of course the Normanville jetty as well.
Yeah, it is. We went down on the weekend. We stayed at Lucy's parents' house on Friday night at Carricalinga, and I took Lil down the beach in Normanville on Saturday, and I was having a good suss. I had to just asked for a little bit of leave from Lil doing sandcastles and running race on the beach to go and suss out the jetty, which she kindly granted me.
Nice of you, Lil.
And it was looking a bit damaged down the sort of end section. And that's a weird jetty because it's so short. It really doesn't extend very far into the water. So if you took out that end section, there wouldn't be much of a jetty left.
Yeah.
But there was some footage just this afternoon from the wind today, and that end section is now completely stuffed.
Oh, wow.
I think that jetty's irreparable. From that video. And I suppose we went down there over summer and set up beach tents and stuff around the shade there. So it's a nice spot to sit and soak in a day by the beach, but it's just not that functional as a jetty. You can't really fish off it particularly well. So I think that will fall down the pecking order of a priority for the government to repair. So I do have fears that one could be coming to the end of its life, Diz.
There might be a bit of a community fundraiser, Rhodey. There's some lovely places down there at Normanville these days. You just never know. They might get enough funds to locally get it back if there's enough interest, but we'll have to watch that one closely.
And Diz, we should mention as well, Kingston down in the southeast, that jetty had a lot of damage in the last day or so. A big chunk seems to be missing completely and the end is very damaged. So I can't see that one being repaired without a massive cost either, Diz. So we'll keep an eye down there on the southeast as well.
All right, Rhodey, I think let's get into the tackle item of the week.
Now it's time for Rhodey and Diz to really show you what it means to have all the gear with a lot of idea as they review a tackle item of the week.
Righto, Rhodey. In this week's tackle item of the week, we are, of course, talking about the Boomer all-terrain anchors. They are a fantastic piece of kit. I know we've talked about this on the podcast because we met Duncan, the man behind Boomer all-terrain anchors. I think, are we talking 2 years ago now?
It'd have to be 2 years ago.
A couple of years ago at the boat show, which is where we first saw the concept. It's amazing, an amazing piece of engineering, a really brilliant piece of work from Duncan and the efforts that went into creating this great anchor. And Rhodey, you're going to talk us through it.
So, Diz, I'm holding part of it here. It's literally sitting on the pool table, ready. It comes actually in a beautiful box. You think about an anchor being bulky and hard to send, but it all comes apart. It comes sort of almost flat packed like an IKEA sort of model.
Yep.
All wrapped up beautifully in foam. So it's quite nifty the way it's sent out. So what it is it is a marine grade 316 stainless steel. It's a specialised anchor that defies old-fashioned thinking. It stops you from losing your anchor. It basically guarantees that you can't lose your anchor, Diz. So it eliminates the risk of using a plough-type anchor or a grapple anchor and getting caught in the reef and losing your anchor, which we did. When was that, Diz? Was that East we did that?
Yeah. It was.
So it works across reef, rocks, gravel, sand, and mud. And what happens is when you get it like badly stuck in some sort of structure, it has these pins, these bolts through the middle of it, Diz, and when you put a certain amount of force through them, they snap, the anchor collapses, and then it comes out really easily out of wherever it's stuck.
Yeah.
Is that a reasonable summary of it?
Yeah. Essentially, instead of, typically what some of those other anchors or people might do with a traditional style grapple anchor where you run the chain up the sort of shaft of the anchor so that if you do get it stuck, you can break that. Maybe it's held with zip ties or other bits and pieces, and then the anchor can come out by the head of it. This design basically just, as you say, collapses outward so that the prongs come out, and then the idea is that the anchor is always retrievable. In fact, their lovely catchphrase of Boomer, all-terrain anchors, we always come back.
Hey, it does, and it does sort of when it all collapses, the four sort of prongs collapse back on themselves, I suppose. It becomes quite a small sort of streamlined shape that would come out of, pretty much any spot you could get it stuck is. And I'm just looking here. So it comes with different pins. So you've got like your 3mm pin, your 4mm pin, and your 5mm pin for your different size boats. So it's pretty amazing that one anchor works. It's made to work for anything from 3 to 9 meter boats.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. And it also comes with the heavy duty stainless steel pins to use only if required. So I don't know, Diz, I suppose you use that if you're anchoring up overnight or something, do you?
Yeah, I think the idea is if you really want to ensure that it doesn't collapse on itself, that there's something in there, if you are, like you say, in an anchorage or something where you just want to make sure that no matter what it's going to hold, then you don't put any of those smaller sort of, nuts on there that can potentially shear.
So Duncan Webster is the founder. He's from Mackay in North Queensland. Jump on his website. Some of the photos up there of the original prototypes, Diz. I don't know whether you've looked at them, but they're pretty cool, the humble beginnings of the first Boomer anchor through to what it is today. And he has been at the boat show the last couple of years. So I don't know if he'll be coming again this year, but if you want to sort of feel it and touch it and look at it and see how it works, that's your best bet. I'm looking on the website now. They are currently on sale for $420, save $59.
Love it. They're always running a good deal, and Duncan is a fantastic bloke. So get around it. Jump onto Boomer All-Terrain Anchors and order yourself one today. We know that Duncan's got quite a few different suppliers across the country as well, so drop down to your local boating store, and you never know, you might see one of his great anchors in there in store.
I feel like Goolwa might have been one, Diz.
Yes.
I reckon I remember him telling us about that.
Yes, good call.
Don't quote me on that. I feel it's just a memory I have.
All right, Rody, what else have we got, mate? There's a fair bit to rip through, but we're probably just about time to get our guest on the line, Ro and Phil from RAD KI.
Now it's time to get our guest on the line. We'll ask them the all-important 5 questions, then chat all things fishing in SA.
All right, Dizzy, we are very privileged to be joined by a couple of experts on the ground over in Kangaroo Island, Ro and Phil, the team behind RAD KI. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. I don't know about the expert tag, but we'll do the best we can as always.
Brilliant, lovely. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will very much look forward to having a chat about your business, RAD KI, and of course what you've seen and witnessed on the ground regarding the Algal Bloom. But before we do get into that, we would love to ask you the 5 questions, and let's start by either of you telling us about your best fish.
The last one I caught, usually. I'm an avid barra fisherman. During the bloom, Rose said, no fish around, get up there and catch me some barra and some goldies and some threadies, so I had to do that. So I caught my 19th metery up there at 109 the other day, so that was pretty good. I like that in a tight creek with lots of thumb pressure on the bait caster reel. In tight situations, I enjoy that. So I suppose every barra I've caught is in the thousands now is my favourite fish. Although one that stands out was I used to live in Sydney and I caught a 91 centimetre flathead on a little bushy popper on the surface in 2 metres of water, and it launched out of water and took that popper like a great white. So my first flathead on a popper I was searching for, and it happened to be 91 centimetres, so on 6 pound leader.
Wow. So, take that.
I count that. I count that one.
Very good. And what about, guys, what's your favourite thing about fishing?
Just being out there. I mean, it's quite interesting because I'm an avid snorkeler and I like to see what's going on underneath the waves while Phil is fishing. So we usually find really good little spots and, he goes for a fish, and I look at what's going on underneath the waves and swim with some dolphins and whatnot. But so that's what we do a lot of here on Kangaroo Island. But except when it's tuna season, of course, then I'm the avid fisherman because I live off tuna. So
Yeah, we had a very bad tuna run this year on the northern side of the island. The south side, they got a few. They did quite well, but Roe caught one here on the 15th of December, which was a nice early run in 6 metres of water. We thought it was a salmon school, but it turned out some small tuna. And then we normally look from our place out in the ocean and say, there's a tuna school. Rose says, hook the boat up, and we're back in 45 minutes with a couple of bluefin. So this year we only caught one more in March. It was very dismal on this side of the island. And that was because of temperatures, instead of 18 to 18 and a half, which we like to fish in, they're up in the 21, 22 bracket at that time of year.
I mean, we saw a marlin out there this year, which is unheard of, and I just picked up a dolphin fish, a mahi-mahi, off the beach the other day, so very strange.
Wow.
Yeah, we had that dolphin fish down to talk about as well. There's some funny things that show up on Kangaroo Island, isn't there?
Yep, absolutely. And just prior to that, we had a pygmy sperm whale wash up with a big goanna eating it, so that was interesting too.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yes, you've certainly had some cool footage over the last few months. Now, tell us, guys, what's your first fishing memory or what got you into it?
Me, it's here on Kangaroo Island. I grew up here, and my grandpa used to be an avid fisherman, and so he didn't say much, and I didn't say much back then. Now I've changed a bit, but we just go out on our boat together with our little hand reels and bring in, the King George whiting and the garfish, and he got me hooked definitely when I was a little kid. So that's my first memories for sure.
Yeah, my grandfather and a good friend's father, who was 96 at the time, he got me into whiting fishing up at Port Macquarie, and taught me how to fillet them and do all that. And it sort of stuck with me. Every waterway, every dam, every gutter, everything. It's got potential for me. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. We love it how it's always passed down through the generations. That's brilliant to hear. Now, tell us, what's your favourite sort of fishing and why? You've probably answered this, bluefin tuna by the sounds.
Oh, me for sure. Absolutely. Love it. Absolutely love it. We really missed out this season, sadly, but to be able to lie in bed, look down at the tuna schools and say, oh, there it is, hop in the boat 4 kilometres away and just bang, within half an hour we've got a bluefin tuna. It's magic. I mean, yeah. And as I said, I just live off it. Like I smoke it with the local shio. I eat it raw. Every form of tuna you can imagine, I eat tuna.
Yeah,
mine's Barra. I've been going up the top end since 1990. Fished all the Kimberley coast right through to the Queensland coast. We're just about to head up to Coburg Peninsula in a week and a half's time. So the main thing there is fishing. I've got to supply fish for Roe because it's the only meat she eats. So
pressure's on.
It's a bird, but I'm happy to carry it. So no, Barra, definitely my passion.
Yes,
a lot of it is because of where it takes you, and what you see.
Yeah, it's all about the adventure, and you're right talking about the north coast of KI. It's pretty amazing. We've stayed on a few places along there, and same thing. You can sit there and watch the tuna school swim by, and it's pretty amazing thing to do.
Oh, the spearfishing comp here every year, the guys just go nuts over coming here along our coastline. There's nothing compares to the diversity of fish and the quantity and quality of fish, It's just amazing. And all the crayfish, of course, as well. So, yeah, they just love it. They can't believe it when they come here.
Yeah,
we're not talking about past times, the way this boom's affected everything.
Yes, no, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a funny fishing story or the one that got away.
There's so many. I'm trying to work out where to draw this one from. We were fishing up at above Darwin, the Vernon Islands, and 2 little tinnies, and we had a dewey competition. Who can catch the biggest dewey? So the other boat couldn't catch one. We couldn't catch one. And my mate got a big sleepy shark. They call them sleepy sharks, but they come alive when you hook them. Anyway, swimming alongside the boat, and they had their back to us. We had our back to the other boat, and I said to Mel, mate, I'll grab this and pretend it's a dewey, And anyway, so the sleepy shark swam past. I grabbed one peck fin and put my arm around its tail, lifted it up at the same time. The sleepy shark went down, and so did I. I went over, and all the other boats saw was my size 12 feet go over. We're in shark and cropping jellyfish infected water. But my two mates on board just couldn't help me in. They were just laughing that much. So, yeah, I think the shark caught the fisherman that time.
Yeah, very good. Love it. Well done. Well, that's fantastic, guys. Thanks very much for answering those 5 questions. Let's get stuck into, I suppose, to start with, maybe tell us a little bit about yourselves and the RAD KI business operation you've got there on KI.
Yep, so we're Research and Discovery Coastal Tours Kangaroo Island. We basically commenced this business about 5 years ago now, basically because of COVID and the bushfires, to be honest. I'm a third generation islander, and I've been an on-land eco guide for over 25 years, but with the bushfires coming in, that got rid of half of our island, and I basically usually do French, German and Spanish tours. And of course, there was no internationals coming at all, so the business I worked for kind of collapsed. And then Phil usually works, we do half-time Kangaroo and half-time Tonga usually, and Phil had a business over there working on boats, taking people swimming with humpback whales. And so we couldn't get to Tonga either because COVID was not in Tonga, and there's no health system in Tonga, so they basically didn't let us in. So we thought, right, we did a 22,000 kilometre road trip around the NT. It came back and decided, well, what are we going to do? So we got ourselves a little tinny, went up the coastline here, and Phil just said, this is bloody nuts. He's done a lot in the Kimberley, and he just said, the geology here, and it's just crazy. And then the geology in itself was amazing, but then we kept discovering more and more wildlife. And I've been going out there my whole life, but fishing out wide, not really hugging the coastline. And we started seeing these colonies of sea lions and seals. And I was going under the water, seeing all these groper and, leafy and weedy sea dragon. It just went on and on and on. And the seagulls. And so we started looking into that. And the first year of operation just got a lot of marine biologists, geologists, all these kind of people together because we wanted to really learn what we were looking at out there, and spent the first year just getting to know our coastline. And then the second year we decided to open up as a citizen science venture so that people can look at what we're looking at, but whilst we're doing it, we're also documenting everything we see. So especially all of the endangered species that we see, we document behaviour, we document water temps, we document all of that kind of stuff. Hence we know that, seeing a marlin this year in 23 degrees was pretty unusual. But we document all of that, and we get people involved, and people really, really enjoy not just going for a boat ride, but also being able to, yes, you swim with sea lions, but yes, you're learning about their behaviour by being in there too, and you're documenting that with, cameras and all kinds of other things. So it's a different kind of tour, and I think the citizen science part of it really is, something a bit different that people, and we go to areas where nobody else goes. It really is very remote. It's weather dependent, of course. But when you're out there, nothing compares, and you're alone. And it's just you're surrounded by the highest coastal cliffs of South Australia, seagulls above, sea lions jumping around you, and big blue groper just at your feet, all in the same little area. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yes, you're certainly right. That north coast of KI is something pretty special, and I suppose that's what makes what's going on at the moment so sad. So we're going to talk about the algal bloom. So obviously over the last 3 or 4 months, it's hopefully gone or is disappearing, and it's done a lot of damage. Can you tell us about what you guys have witnessed being over there on the island and documenting a lot of what's going on?
Yeah, so our initial sites were end of Feb, to be honest. At beginning of March, we were seeing strange fish swimming around in the water. Well, they weren't swimming at all; they were dead, basically, in the water. And lots and lots of cuttlefish and things like that. So we didn't really know at that stage what was happening. But we were taking note of it, obviously. And but at that stage, we were still catching big salmon, and we were still having swims because the water was so warm, so it was quite pleasant for the guys to get in the water. So we were still having really good swims with the sea lions and seals, and everything looked okay except for these strange fish that were floating around in the water. So that was the first signs that something was amiss. And then we're also I'm an avid beach walker and beach comber as well. And then very large rays started washing up along Emu Bay Beach, notably there. And that was another sign of, well, that's a bit, something's amiss here. And then we started looking more into it, and I'm very good friends with Gavin Matthews from Wreckfish SA here, and we had a lot of conversations on the phone, and I just well, no one's saying anything that's going on, but something's definitely going on. So looked deeper and deeper into that and started just walking and combing the beaches and getting out there as much as we could above and below the water to see what on earth was going on. And just noticed more and more, deaths. Specifically at that time, it was the rays and the pufferfish and the leather jackets. They all come in kind of waves. So, and then we were seeing just, dozens and dozens of leafy and weedy sea dragons. And that, of course, really hit home because they're our iconic species. And so then I did a bit more research and found out a bit more about what was going on and decided, look, I spoke to the mayor, I spoke to everybody, and I said, look, we've got to let people know because the kids are playing in the foam and pretending they're Santa Claus by putting foam beards on. It just wasn't a good thing to see. So I thought, and it was Easter holidays and all these people on KI. I'm like, man, someone's got to say something here. So I had a chat to Gav and I said, look, Gav, I'm just going to put something up there. I'm just going to say, look, this is what's happening because people just I'm going on the beaches trying to teach people what's going on. But, there needs to be more information coming out. So I went to Dew, and Dew was really good then. They actually put signs up on all the beaches that were national parks related. But all the other ones like Stokes Bay, no one had an idea. Emu Bay, no one knew what all the dead fish was about or anything. So that's when I really started saying, right, as a citizen science venture, we document what we see. Let's tell people what we're seeing and what's going on here because nothing was being said. So, yeah, that's how it all started, really.
Yeah, and we talked about the Kingscote Jetty. That video was pretty confronting, nothing there. Have you dived other parts of KI, had a snorkel? Is that pretty typical of what's going on? Have you seen any signs of sort of fish moving back in, or it's still pretty barren under there at the moment?
Yeah, the bloom sort of pushed and moved around a bit, and further west, it got there later than it happened around Kingscote and what have you. And so we were still taking people out. We decided not to put them in snorkeling. We've got permits to snorkel with seals, sea lions and dolphins. And we just thought the way it is, even though the visibility was okay, we didn't know what the effect of this bloom would be on people, especially when they've got their mouths and noses and their eyes in the water. So we decided not to put people in. Then, but the fish life all looked healthy from above. Everything looked good. The dolphins were there in bigger numbers than normal, the outer oceanic bottlenose and common dolphins. So we thought things were good. We even saw a humpback out there in April. So things were looking okay. But then the bloom was started to push and the water clarity got worse and worse around Stokes. We couldn't see the rope to our mooring, which is 7 odd metres down to the bottom, and we used to see that clear as anything. That started disappearing. We could only see a metre or so down. So the bloom was heading our way, heading west. So we kept going out, and it got worse and worse. Heading up to Snug Cove, you could hardly see the bottom up there, or you couldn't see the bottom. When you normally see the ripply sand down there. So we ultimately, there's still a lot of marine animals out there, but more and more different species of fish floating around on the top. Some we didn't know what they were. So they were coming from the deep, big eyes and whatever. So then we ended up last month got Southern Reef Foundation, Stephen Andrews out with us. They dived at Pissy Boy Rocks, which is a renowned spot, lots of wildlife. They were happy with what they saw in a way. They did see quite a few harlequin fish down there still, lots of crays. They even had one weedy sea dragon was still alive and seemingly doing well. A lot of the algae and sponges and soft corals and that were gone, but they were reasonably happy with what they saw there. But that was a month and a half ago now, I suppose. So we're not sure, but at least there was life there. We're trying to wait for these seas to drop down a bit so Ro can get out and snorkel in another spot closer to Stokes that she snorkels regularly to get a comparison there.
Yeah, wonderful. And thank you very much for sharing some of those insights. I mean, we've talked a little bit about some of the amazingly, well, some respect, devastating in terms of the sea dragons and, dolphin fish and whales washing up. There's been a lot of devastation to the marine life. Can you talk us a bit through, I guess, financially, how this is affecting, I guess, a number of businesses on KI and abroad? You sort of mentioned about some of those people that rely on, the marine life for their livelihood. I can only imagine that this is devastating the community in some respects.
Oh, absolutely. We work together with the local fishing guys here that do commercial fishing, but also the guys that take out tourist fishing in the fishing industry here, and it's absolutely devastating. I mean, these poor buggers, there's just nothing they can do. They keep going further and further west to try and catch a fish, but I mean, Gavin has been going out here for decades. He just can't even catch a nanny out there anymore. And I spoke to Gavin Matthews the other day, and he just said they went out wide and about, I think 30 Ks. He said they went out wide and all they were catching was snapper. And the snapper are quite resilient, but their guts was just full of dead, stinky, putrid things. So that's not a great sign, to be honest. I still hold. I'm ever the optimist, so I do still hold hope that we still have been seeing large schools of salmon out west, and other fish. So, I mean, I'm hoping that what we saw when we dived didn't get any worse, because since then we've had big weather systems pull through. So I have everything crossed that out west that may well recover, but we just don't know. I mean, there's so many question marks right now, and I mean, how far down the food chain is it going to go? And currently, the larger mammals seem very fit and healthy and well, but who knows when they keep consuming fish that are, that have died of this bloom, what's going to happen there? The sea lions, we just don't know how far that's going to go. And there's a lot of research being done based on other areas, because this is not a one-off algae bloom. It exists all over the world, but just that, it's a different component, and we just don't know how far down the food chain it's going to go and what the effects will be. But as I said, I'm the eternal optimist, and I believe this is absolutely horrendous, but I also believe in the power of nature to pick up again. And when you look at Kingscote Jetty, it was just devastating. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, there was no life there. But when I go up the western end here, there was a lot of life. I mean, yes, the fish weren't 100%. I spoke to Aaron, the head of fisheries here the other day, and he said, there's a bit of discoloration on the fish, and they don't seem 100%. So they're not 100%, and there definitely is. It is definitely affecting them, but the amount of fish we saw up there, all the local contenders that sweep, the swallowtails in huge numbers, the big blue groper that I love and monitored, all the time, they were still there. So they didn't look 100%, but they, as I said, we still had harlequin fish and these, so I don't know. And I said that seeing that the leafy sea dragon was wonderful. The crayfish, there are a lot of crayfish down there still. So fingers crossed. That's all we can do really is hope. But science is kind of telling us that it's probably going to be worse than we expect. But you have to be hopeful, don't you? You have to be.
You do, and you just hope, that it hasn't wiped out sort of future generations of fish and wildlife to come. So that's probably what we're all watching and waiting to see what happens in the coming months. What's sort of on the agenda for you guys? Are you guys still working, still running tours, or is it all on hold a little bit for you?
No, it hasn't, just to go back to that last question, it hasn't really affected us financially, because we are a citizen science group that we document what we see, and everything that happens in nature, positive and negative, is worth documenting. So we involve people in that process, and we did the same during the bushfires. It wasn't a matter of let's go and show them alive. So let's just look at what we've got here and what's happening. And I think people get a lot more interested in that than trying to make things pretty. But so it hasn't affected us as much as it has other industries, to be honest. But for us now is our winter season, which means usually we go to Tonga, but Tonga's currently got dengue, and Phil's had that once, so he doesn't want it again. So we're actually we're doing our 3-month pilgrimage up north, and we just do very, very basic. We live in a rooftop tent. We throw a fish in the fire at night and free camp, and that's about it for 3 months.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I bet you're really looking for some nicer, warmer weather, I'm sure.
Absolutely, and it sounds terrible, but it will be a relief to get away from the bloom as well, because it was like the bushfires last time. We did a lot of work with the bushfires, and I've always described this as a bushfire of the ocean, and it does tax you completely and totally. It's really devastating, and you can't not dream about it, you can't not think about it. It's very upsetting to everybody who knows the ocean, but But yeah, it'll be good to just get away from that for a little while and go north and get a bit of sun.
Well, fingers crossed in 3 months when you return, things are looking a bit more optimistic here in South Australia and on Kangaroo Island. If that's the case, just let's go back to your business just before we leave you. Tell us about the tours you offer. So you do land tours, you do boat tours, you sort of do it all. What can people expect if they do want to come out with you guys in summer when it's all back to normal, hopefully?
Yeah, we'll probably kick off about November. The last 4 years have been wonderful that time of year. We've seen humpback whales out there feeding 4 years in a row. First people to document that in South Australian waters. So the scientists are very interested in that, and so are we, and so are the clients. So there's a chance of seeing them. But we normally, like our longer tour, we leave Stokes Bay, head up to Snug Cove, about 32 k's along the coast, go right in close to the coastline. We've got seagulls nests, osprey nests. We never know what we're going to find. We found 56 wedge-tailed eagles the other day, all on the edge of the cliff. Three varieties of dolphins, and just the scenery and what you see out there. Plus, we've got permits to swim with seals, sea lions, and dolphins. If the occasion arises, we don't push that, but if the occasion's there, it's wonderful down those remote areas. If we see 2 boats in a day, it's like Pitt Street. We see no one down there. And, just the geology itself is enough. We're discovering stuff all the time. So basically, I suppose, we use our clients to help pay the fuel and get us out there. And if it's a calm day and we haven't got our 8-metre rib, a very, very good boat for viewing the wildlife with and getting in and out of it with snorkel. And it keeps our numbers down to about 4 to 6 people at a time. So it's a very personalised tour for about 6 hours. Or we go the other way and do a little tour in the afternoon, our sundown tour for about 2.5, 3 hours, and we get to see that sort of wildlife again, but not in the numbers. But so.
And the land tour, I've been an eco guide on land for years, and I feel to understand an ecosystem fully, which we're trying to do, you have to do both land and sea. You can't just separate them. So we created like an ocean and earth tour, which has been very popular because it really showcases both, as I said, land and sea, because we also run a little wildlife sanctuary here, which is not open to the public or anything, but I've been doing that my whole life. So we rescue injured and orphaned wildlife as well. So, especially the internationals love to be involved in that side of things. And I know I like the back of my hand because growing up here. So we take people to areas that they would never be able to witness on just a normal, everyday tour or just, in their own cars. So we give them an incredibly personalised, come and look at the island as an islander kind of thing, but also all the little hidden gems that we know. And people love that. So we make them family for a couple of days and, really give them a personalised experience of Kangaroo Island, which I said, I've worked a lot with internationals and they just love it. They just think that's just incredible. So, so we're doing a lot of that as well, which is lovely. And that just gives us a better idea of the ecosystem as well, because whilst we're on land, we're also obviously documenting all of the endangered species that we see, like the glossy black cockatoos. I planted 3,000 trees for them in the bottom of my paddock 8 years ago, and now we've got a resident population there, and they come every day, so which is wonderful. And obviously we look at the echidnas, and we document all these animals that we see as well. So just same kind of idea, but doing that on land and on the water.
Fantastic. Well,
we get a lot of the locals that come out with us, and they can't believe that's part of their island because they've never seen it before. So when we go down there, we just, residents have been here for over 30 years. They come with us and just go, we can't believe we've never seen this. So that's a wonderful thing too, to show people their own backyard.
Yeah, amazing. Well done, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful time up north, and then you'll be getting stuck into all of that fun stuff you've just talked to when you get back here later on in the year. But thank you both very much for joining us. Thank you for all the work that you've done around the citizen science piece and documenting everything that's going on with the Algal Bloom. I know there's a huge number of people in the recreational fishing community and further afield that do really appreciate what you guys have done. So thanks very much and enjoy your time up north, and thanks for coming on the show with us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, and thanks for getting it out there.
Dizzy, that was a good chat to hear exactly what's going on the ground in KI following the Algal Bloom outbreak.
Yeah, it was fantastic to chat to them, and I think that point that Ro made around, this being the bushfire of the sea was an interesting one, because we know the devastation and how much media attention that bushfire got on Kangaroo Island, which was devastating those years ago. But hearing that, I think probably hits home about how devastating this has been to the marine life. So it'll be interesting. We'll watch this one very closely and keep talking about it on the podcast for sure, Roddy.
And it's a good business they've got down there because they're like a lot of the things they spoke about are exactly what we like to do when we're on KI, like sit in the house and, watch the water and wait for the tuna to show up and diving and seeing the blue gropers and the crayfish and all those things that we've done before. So it's all, and it's great to make that more accessible to more people too.
Yeah, it is. And that north coast of Kangaroo Island is genuinely stunning. We've always focused a bit on our fishing while we've been on there and haven't sort of tucked in closely to the coastline to look at the types of sea life, etc., that they were talking about. But I can only imagine because it's pretty rugged out there.
It certainly is. All right, Diz, now let's keep moving and let's get into the fishing report.
Rhodey and Diz have been out on the water to bring you the news about where they're biting. Now it's time for the fishing report.
Righto, Rhodey, I was fishing a couple of weeks ago and I can tell you that there's no fish there.
Yeah, so that was York's, was it, Diz?
It was a donut. Weather wasn't great, but we found a little bit of a window to get out for a few hours, and we just couldn't catch a thing. No squid, no whiting. It was pretty bleak. We flicked a line off the beach with Ned in the afternoon a few times, but still, even then, nothing.
And across the board, you'd say York Peninsula reports have been pretty quiet?
I think certainly quieter. I mean, this is that time of year where people, when you get that little weather window or you've got a weekend free or whatever, you get out and you really want to smash those winter whiting. And I mean, I know that there've been people that have been doing well and maybe they're getting out wide and maybe it's in the other Gulf. I don't know, but just haven't heard a lot of reports of fish around.
It does seem like this Gulf has been quieter and maybe that York Peninsula side of the Gulf has been quieter.
Yeah.
Maybe you are best to go over to sort of your Moon to Port Hughes.
Edithburgh was a very well documented place for the bloom.
Yeah.
And I know there's, it's obviously quite a renowned jetty as well, and there's been discussion about that. So whether it just sort of has made its way up the Gulf or up that coastline, I don't really know. But, yeah, we'll see how we go.
All right, what about the local King George whiting?
We've seen some good reports, haven't we? I mean, there's been some people, most notably Clifty's.
Yeah, he did get a donut, though. Did you see that?
I did.
That's unheard of for him.
Very rare for Clifty, and loved the social media work he's done there with the filleting knife and the couple of donuts on the chopping board there. So that was good because I think it really gave that human aspect that Clifty can also miss out on getting the bag of fish.
But yes, a few others have been reporting bits and pieces, Metro. So you would think this time of year they should be there and they should be firing, but it is a real wait and see what the weather does. This weekend's looking a little bit better, so maybe more people will get out and see whether the fish are there as this algal bloom progresses.
Good call. Brody, what else is happening? Lots of Murray River crayfish.
Yeah, over in Victoria, Diz. I don't know whether you've seen them, like further up the Murray. There's heaps of them. I think the season's just open, so lots of people are sharing their catches, and that's a really good fishery they've got over there in Victoria. I know there's been some relocation here in South Australia. I think that was at a secret, undisclosed location, Diz. So hopefully that one day turns into a proper fishery for the Murray River crayfish here in South Australia.
Yeah, wonderful, Rhodey. Love that, mate. What else have we got going on? There's been, we talked about this with Rode, didn't we? The dolphin fish washed up on Emu Bay.
Yeah, they've had some amazing sights that they've documented. So that dolphin fish, you talked about a marlin. I don't know, did you see that footage? I think we spoke about it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago of that whale on the south coast being eaten by a goanna or a monitor.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That was amazing footage. So they've seen some really cool things. Obviously sad, some of these are related to sort of the algal bloom and climate change and all those sort of things. So, but nonetheless, some pretty cool footage.
Yep, very good. Rhodey, the barrels, they've been a bit quieter.
Very quiet. Even, I think I saw Fluoro Charters come back to Warina. So that's not a great sign that the season's going really well. I know them and Want to Fish had gone over the border to Portland. And I know there were a lot of times when sort of Warrnambool and Port Fairy were fishing well, but I haven't even really seen any reports from over the border. So I'd say that's gone quiet. I haven't heard of any from Marion Bay or Port Lincoln. I don't know about you.
Nah, haven't heard anything.
Whether that means people are getting better at keeping secrets over there, but who knows?
Who knows? And I think it's one of those things. Sometimes they do go quiet for a little while and then they fire back up.
They do. So who knows, Diz? We'll keep our ears to the ground on that one. And what about the salmon, Diz?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Port Noarlunga jetty has been out of action since that big storm we had a while ago. People have still been getting down to that part, whether it be Southport and other bits and pieces down there where people love to fish off the beach. So I've been hearing a few reports of people getting some good catches, and they've just been trying to find those weather windows where they can get out and walk the beaches and flick a line out there or two to get a feed of salmon. So I think reports have been okay on that regard, but I just think it's just important noting some of these jetties have been, damaged so badly that you want to take caution if you are going down there and walking the planks.
So you're better off getting on the beach at Southport or Waipinga, or heading over to Elliston, Diz, and getting involved in the Australian Salmon Fishing Championship that we talk about every year. That's well underway. And I was just looking here, so there's been plenty of fish caught. The last couple of mystery weight winners was Kevin Barton from Whyalla caught a 3.247 kilo salmon.
Yeah, nice.
And the week before that, Ryan Heritage from Whyalla caught a 0.758 kilo fish. So varied sizes for their mystery weights. So that shows you're always in with a sniff.
Yes, and we love that about the salmon comp. So brilliant work to them. Keep up that, and absolutely, Rody. Couldn't agree more, mate. Get over there and get stuck into some beautiful salmon in that part of the woods.
All right, Dizzy, and that's just about it for us.
That wraps us up. Of course, you can find us on all of the socials. Jump on the podcast pages, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you download your podcasts is where you'll find us. Jump on the socials, get engaged, send us plenty of photos and let us know what you've been up to. We're always really keen to hear it. But except for that, Rody, we'll speak to them next time.
See you guys.
Rody and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.